just give it a shot. We're still young. When you're 21, 22, you can still change. It's never too late. So just try something and give it your 100%. Don't half-ass and just show up to work. Go the extra mile, show up to work and perfect the skill every day.
This is the Australian Butchers Guild podcast, brought to you by Meat and Livestock Australia, the podcast for passionate butchers.
G'day, Doug Piper here, and welcome to the Australian Butchers Guild podcast. We all hope you traded well over the Christmas period and over the next 12 months. Wish you all the best. There's some great tradespeople in our industry, and they're passionate about what they do and how they can grow interest in the butchery trade. Today I'm catching up with one such person, Jamel Elkassir, apprentice butcher from Bass Hill. Jamel reached out and introduced himself to us about a year ago to tell us what he's doing to create interest in the trade and how he's engaging his customers from the shop. Jamel has started his socials under the name of The Meat Hustle and is growing his audience of fellow butchers and meatheads around Australia. Welcome, Jamel.
Thank you. How are you going?
I'm good, mate. How's life out in sunny Bass Hill?
Oh, well, it's scorching, that's for sure. Just hot as every day. But it's that time of the year, it's expected.
Mate, welcome to the podcast. I've sort of been watching your travels along the way on your social pages under the Meat Hustle. You're doing a great job out there, mate.
I appreciate that.
How did you get into butchery?
I started off as just a water boy. It was after school hours, or even sometimes I would leave school early just to go to work. I knew I wanted to work and I needed to find something. And it came to me, the job was offered to me by my boss, Sam, which is also a friend of my dad. And gradually, working there, it became a passion. Serving, cutting meat, the carcass, the anatomy of the animals, the whole lot just came to me. And it became passion.
You're well into your second year of your apprenticeship now. So that you're doing is the shop that you're working at is Kale Meats, owned by Billy Kale. So Billy's had that shop. Actually, I've known Bill and his brother for a long time, and they were and even the father. Going back nearly 20 years, I first met these guys. Yeah. They had a butcher shop inside of a Franklin store in. I'd like to say it was Bankstown.
Correct. That's the one yes, correct. They had it there for a while. They even had multiple before that, with the dad being Lakemba.
That's right.
Long family history of butchery. They're passing me down the knowledge, thank God.
Yeah. So you're actually doing carcasses. You're breaking down carcasses in the shop. So what sort of work they've got you doing there now?
Well, currently, look, I do a lot of customer service, but that's something I just prefer. I love dealing with the customers. I love the community.
Mm-hmm.
I love being able to recommend what's good and what's not good. But also, added value is another thing I'm really good at. Spicing products up for customers and the people around, giving them alternatives to just their stock standard. That's one thing I really like doing.
Yeah, value adding is a very important part of the trade these days. It's really saved a lot of butcher shops over the years because people have, obviously, and you'd know it, people are time poor. They've got limited cooking skills as well, which is a bit of an issue these days.
Unfortunately, yes. You meet a lot of people that don't know how to cook or, don't know how to make the food taste nice. And like you said, time restricted. Everyone's just working around the clock. So you give them that bit of convenience and it saves them a whole lot of time. It benefits you and them.
Definitely does. Talking with your customers, knowing a little bit about cooking as well is very important. As a young fella in the trade, any sort of things that you've picked up that's really made your job a lot easier when it comes to talking to customers?
One thing is it's a blessing by God, to have this skill, but also it's just trial and error. Don't be afraid. Worst thing that's going to happen is someone can say no, and that's about it. Your day goes on, they're going to forget about you. And the best thing that can happen is actually the other way around, is these people will remember you. These people will love you because you're doing something good for them. You're building trust in between them, and you're putting the effort in. Because at the end of the day, nowadays there's a whole lot of no customer service, no matter where you go, in butcher shops, in food stores, the whole lot. People are scared to speak to each other, which I feel like there shouldn't be that gap.
That's spot on, mate. A lot of people, we really need that loyalty, and the way to earn the loyalty of the customer is to give them what they want. And
exactly,
you nailed it, mate. There is no customer service in the supermarkets and a lot of other business these days. There used to be, but that's long gone. Especially in the meat department. Making sure that, if you're a young person or even an old butcher like myself, you're making sure that you're polite to the customers and making sure that you're giving them what they want.
Always the case. You should be.
Mate, you've only been in the trade for a couple of years though. So what's the best skill that you've developed so far?
Well, yeah, like you said, it's a bit soon for me to say I've perfected anything, but I could say, I picked up some really good skills. Part of the trade is, I picked up a lot of good communication. I've learned good manners working along with, adults with me. Also, honestly, knife skills are a big thing. With meat and without the meat, even cutting up vegetables at home and cooking. Surprisingly, as a butcher, I've become a really good chef. I actually do family dinners now from time to time, and my parents love it. They get the time off usually on a weekend, and they love it.
So what do you cook for your family?
I'm really good at my steaks, of course, being a butcher, but also I got a smoker. I do a lot of barbecuing. I like to make oven roast, whole lot of slow cooking, just a mixture of everything. Yeah, it comes with learning the different cuts and what they'll be good for, and then using that to your advantage when it comes to cooking, because that becomes the main part of the meal.
How did you go learning about the different cuts that come off an animal, the different muscle structure? Where did you learn that? Did you learn that on the job, or did you learn that at TAFE?
Bit of both, actually. So on the job, I remember when I first started, actually, there was this app I had, and I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, honestly, but even before I started my apprenticeship and I wasn't serving, I was just, washer boy, topping up the window. I wanted to learn the trade. Even if I didn't know if I wanted to pursue it, I wanted to learn it. And there was this app where it would go in depth with everything you needed to know about meat, basically. And every single day after work, I'd go home for like an hour or two and just learn. And the next day, I'll test myself on it. And gradually with TAFE and, on the job, that helped as well.
How valuable do you think TAFE is for an apprentice?
Oh, big time. I've worked with, guys, and I've met people as well that don't go to TAFE or have left TAFE. And I always try to influence them or recommend them to go into TAFE, because not only that it teaches you butchery, it teaches you how to be safe with butchery, how to keep your meat fresh, how to keep everything clean, how to, stop cross-contamination, stop people from getting sick. The whole lot, teaches you the side of the business aspect. It's very, very important. Honestly, in my opinion, you're missing out on a whole lot of knowledge.
Yeah, that's been a bit of an issue that we've seen in the past where, butchers, they learn all about meat, cutting meat and making all sorts of stuff. But that admin side, the business skill, is extremely important for your future, really, isn't it?
100%. You need it. It's a necessity.
So who's your teacher at TAFE?
Currently, Matt.
Okay, yeah, Big Matt.
Yes, that's the one.
How many students are in your class?
Off the top of my head, I'd say just shy of 16. I remember when we first started, we had a fair bit more, but unfortunately we had a couple drop out, which, some left the trade, or some of them just not wanting to pursue doing apprenticeships.
Well, what's the hardest part that you found about like that transition from going to school basically and then starting a job? What's been the hardest part there?
Well, with me, honestly, I actually found that school was harder than work. So I was never a school person. I preferred leaving school early and coming into work, because I knew this was just something for me. Some people, school just got to be for you or what you want to do in life. And I knew finding something in the real world or pursuing something could benefit me. But then TAFE, on the other hand, that was some sort of knowledge I was willing to seek. I went into that, that program, and I was eager to learn. I was eager to study, because I knew this was something that was for me. It was really benefiting me. So I thank God that the transition wasn't really too hard, honestly.
What would you say to a young person wanting to come into the trade? How would you encourage him into it?
That's a really good question. Honestly, start your apprenticeship as soon as you can. Don't waste time. As soon as you get into that apprenticeship, you're going to absorb all that information, and it's going to stick with you. It's not something that you're going to learn and then you're just going to forget about. If you are really interested in the trade and something you want to pursue, it will only benefit for you. At the end of the day, the TAFE doesn't gain.
Yeah, that very good words, mate. We're always looking for ways that we can engage young people into the trade, or not so much young people. Like, there's a lot of mature age apprentices out there, as a lot of butchers out there know. We've seen a lot of guys come through. There was one in particular, Greg Murphy, who was I think he was nearly 50 when he started his apprenticeship. He is an absolute stellar butcher. He's a really talented butcher. Only been in the trade for probably about maybe 6, 7, 8 years, something like that now. But he's done very well for himself. He's even managed shops. So, you don't have to be a young person. You can be a mature age as well. But
100%.
We've also seen, and I think this is really great, this year, well, actually last year, through the apprentice competitions that the Australian Meat Industry Council runs, out of the whole 7 states of Australia, we've seen 5 women win their states, and there's 2 fellas. So the the national finals in a couple of months, I think it is. So it's going to be interesting to see the quality of the butchers that are coming through, and in particular the women that are out there. There's just so many. We've seen so many great women coming into the trade, and they've stuck at it, and they're doing a fantastic job. But I think it's great to have that competition there between the sexes with the trade, because it's now no longer just a man's trade. It's open to everybody, isn't it?
Big time, which is needed, which is really needed. For example, I've got a lot of, local butcher shops to me that are now employing a lot more female butchers.
Yeah, right.
Which is good. It's good to see.
Was there many female apprentices in your class?
Unfortunately, there was 2. There was 3, and one of them dropped out, leaving the trade. But there was 2, and there's one of them where she's so devoted to her trade. She actually comes from about 4 or 5 hours away or something, but she's so devoted to this trade. She takes about a 4 or 5 hour train just to come down every day.
Wow.
Yeah, or every week, sorry. And it's beautiful to see, the discipline in that. You're waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning just to get to TAFE at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, that's a big commitment, isn't it?
100%. But it shows you that there's something for her to learn here.
Definitely. Like Granville TAFE is the best TAFE in Australia. It's undergone a great, quite a few years ago, they had a big renovation there where it took a really old building and they've just made it into state-of-the-art facility, and they've got the best equipment there. And I know Benny Barrow, I've known him for a long time, who used to be the head teacher now. I think you've got Martin Payton there, painted, who is the head teacher, but every single teacher that works out of there is just so devoted to their students, and it's a real credit to them for the quality of the apprentices that they're churning out.
And like you said, state-of-the-art equipment, everything there is modern. Even the connections these teachers have and the whole team, they can get us to great excursions. They've taken us to massive wholesalers, factories, the whole lot, which gives us a good insight on, just besides the retail butchery, everything else.
Have you been to a processing facility yet, or like an abattoir?
Not just yet. We're actually going in the next couple months.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So that's our next excursions. We got back from a small goods company not too long ago, and it's one of the biggest, halal small goods companies in Australia, and that was amazing. Giving you an insight on how much opportunity there is in butchery, not just being a small shop on the street, but you can scale it to such high levels, and how much more detailed there is. It's beautiful.
There's a lot of opportunities with small goods, especially in the beef and lamb side of it.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of butchers out there doing all sorts of salamis and, bake their own bacon. But one of the big things that we've sort of been looking at is beef bacon and beef ham. We actually got the guys at Granville to do a beef ham a few years back, and it actually came out pretty good. But beef bacon has been around for a while. That seems to be growing in popularity around the place. Beef salami, I know Andrew Marabito that used to be at Granville there, he was teaching a lot of the students there how to do them.
Yes, he's really good at what he does.
So with your pastramis and your bastorma, there's I think all up there's around about, 15, 18 different types that I know of, that I've heard of, yeah.
Yeah, easily. And the list goes on. You got mortadella, you got, chicken slice, the whole lot.
Yeah. Getting off the track a little bit, the kofta that you guys make in that shop, that is one of the best koftas I've ever eaten.
Thank you.
I've bought that a couple of times when I've been out there, and I really love the stuff, mate. Do you make that yourself, or is that
sometimes? So it would rotate between who's mincing,
Mm-hmm.
but usually I would. But the recipe is always the exact same. We follow it to the T.
Yeah.
And this has been passed down, from person to person. And like I said, this goes back 20 years ago to when the Hajj, when my boss's dad was starting up butchery.
Yeah, right.
This is just knowledge passed down generations.
And you guys actually wholesale that kofta out too, don't you?
Yes, we do.
The flavour's just incredible. Like, you can buy a packet from one of the suppliers, or, there are a lot of recipes out there, but none of them come close to this. The product that you guys make.
I appreciate
it's
that.
Beautiful. Job well done. How many kilos a day would you guys make of that?
That's a big number. I'd say off the top of my head, and say about 100 kilos, probably just over, probably close to 200.
And how much of that would you sell over the counter? All of it? Or
all of it. All of it.
Right.
Yeah, bare minimum was left over. Bare minimum.
Yeah, I saw it the other day when I was there, and just a great big row of it, a whole stack of it. There would have probably been close to 50 kilos in the window there.
Oh, putting that on the display is hard. But that's how you get big guns like this. No, as you see, we are such a busy butcher shop. Thank God we try to make sure everyone's getting their fair share. So it's always everything's moving, which is what we want.
Mate, your social pages, the Meat Hustle, tell us a little bit about that and how that came about.
Honestly, it's one passion of mine is, to go big in this industry. I've got a lot of love for butchery, food, the whole lot, and also teaching. So one thing you learn working in customer service is no one understands where their meat comes from, what to do with their meat, what causes their meat to be certain ways. So I want to teach. I want to give the public just this general information and this basic knowledge of their meat, everything about it. And that's what this page is about. Also, behind the scenes of butchery, what it's like being a butcher, so I can get people intrigued into butchery, because people think you're just cutting meat, cutting something with a knife. There's a whole lot more. There's bones, there's anatomy, there's joints. It's just an art. I honestly believe butchery is an art. It's a whole creative platform for us.
It's become very artisanal.
Yes.
Trade, and it shows in all shops, in a lot of shops out there, and in particular yours, the way that just the visual of the shop that you're in. I know it's. I was talking to Sam the other day, and he said there's some big changes happening in the shop.
Yes.
But it still is a really cool looking shop, and that's the way that the trade is sort of heading now, and it's being able to display that in your meat, in what you've got out there for your customers, and in the way that you portray yourselves too. So with the Meat Hustle, are you trying to engage anybody in particular, any certain demographic, or is it more about just in general?
In general, I want the general community to know about meat. That's the goal, is to get people, especially home cooks. That's one thing, honestly, is they don't know what to be using sometimes. So, you got your wives, or even some dads that like to cook at home, the barbecue specialists, you can call them. They need to know what's good. They want to change it up sometimes. And not every butcher shop you go to, you have a butcher that's willing to teach you, as in a butcher that's willing to advise you on what's going to be best. Thank God to all those good butchers out there, and I appreciate that. But there's a lot of them, honestly, they have no customer service. They want to sell you a product.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But that's what this page is about, is knowing your meat. It's a very easy understanding. It's a little bit of information to take in, but it comes as you go.
Yeah. Well, good luck with all that, mate.
I appreciate that.
And you've brought out your own brand of knights.
So actually, I've been working on this for about a year and a half, perfecting it, samples after samples. I've launched my own knife company. So, by the will of God, I've got the chance to start up a business, because I realized, knives are a big part of the house. Besides butcher knives, these are also amazing for butchers. They're designed by a butcher, but they're amazing for the house. You go to your auntie's house or whatever, and you see her hacking at the potatoes or trying to slice the tomatoes, and it's just blunt. And she asks you to sharpen it, for example. It's like, yeah, I know I'm a butcher, but you're going to give me that hassle? You get a sharp knife. And, slowly, working on it, I designed a really good knife set, actually, which is affordable. Unlike a lot of knife sets out there, which are going to cost you a couple $100, and they're about the same quality. I've worked on affordability and longevity. So something that's going to last you a whole long time, but it's not going to cost you a whole lot.
No, they certainly look good, mate. I love that. They're a wooden handle.
Yes, rosewood.
Oh, they look lovely.
Thank you. I gotta give you a set one day from me as a gift.
Thank you, mate.
Good.
Appreciate it. If butchers wanted to get hold of some, or if they wanted to try and sell them in their shops, how would they go about that?
So currently I am retailing to My Butcher Shop and Barn & Co., which is another butcher's equipment store. You can go online to Forge and Supply, where I'll be on social media, and the website will be releasing this week. Also, send me a DM, and I'm able to, sort out shipping. And if you're local, in the area of Sydney, I actually do personal drop-offs. I like to meet my people.
Well done. Oh, good luck with that, mate. I hope it all goes well for you.
Thank you.
Back from the world of social media, where do you see your career heading after you're completing your apprenticeship? What do you think you're going to do? You're going to stay in the trade? You're going to follow on with socials, or a little bit of both?
Well, yes, a little bit of both, actually. Is I do want to pursue the trade, and at the end of the day, it's God's plan. But I do plan to open up my own store. I want to have my own butcher store and focus on freshness, cleanliness, have just an amazing store running. Other than that, I do want to also build my knife company up. I want to scale that, see how far I can get with it, because I do got a long, roadmap. I've got a lot coming for everybody, waiting, and the list goes on. I'm very ambitious. The sky's the limits.
Oh, that sounds intriguing, mate. Hopefully it all goes very well for you. Especially, can't wait to see you in your own butcher shop in the future.
Hope so. The day will come.
Jamel, any areas you want to specialise in butchery?
Retail. Retail is I feel where I belong.
Yep.
I love meeting customers, personally. When I open up my shop, I do hope to be, again, away from the knives, but towards the customer service. I'd love to be working on the knives and with the bodies, but I love meeting the people.
Yeah.
That's one thing is I love, the next day they come back from after they bought their meat and they tell me that steak you gave me yesterday was amazing. The family loved it. I cooked it just how you told me to cook it and it came out perfect. It was juicy. It was tender. Or the list goes on. Is when they tell you they had a good dinner and that was because of you, it feels accomplishing, being able to feed people.
Yeah, a lot of butchers enjoy that part of it. Getting the feedback off the customers about that roast, that lamb leg that you sold them last week. How they, I always used to, and I think I've said this a few times. You'd be standing there in the shop, and the customer would come in and they'd say, "Doug, that leg of lamb I bought last week," and all of a sudden your heart starts to sink. You think, "Oh, what was going on?" And they go, "That was the best leg of lamb I've ever had." And it's like, thank goodness for that. So it's that unknown thing, and the butchers have got to be ready for any sort of feedback, I suppose. And if it is bad, how do you handle that? How would you handle that if someone came back and said, "Oh, that steak was as tough as an old boot"?
Yeah, well, first you got to find out how they've cooked it, and also find out the day they bought it. So depending on the day, sometimes different butcher shops are going to get different qualities of, for example, a cut or carcass, whatever it could be, and you can nail that down. So you can know not to get from that supplier again, or you can find out if they've cooked it wrong and you try to advise them otherwise. You can let them know if they like cooking it in a different way. You can give them a different recommendation. That's one way. Also, is freshness. So if they kept that steak in their fridge for 2 days extra, it's going to play a big difference. Or if they don't thaw it out properly in their freezer, it's going to play a bigger difference as well.
Yeah, there's a lot that can happen after it leaves the butcher shop, but
Yes.
The only thing that we can sort of do as butchers is to, maintain the quality, the freshness, knowing where it comes from. What was it? Grain fed, grass fed, that side of it. One of the things that I always sort of remembered was, just because you got something that wasn't right, like there was a bit of an issue with the quality of something, it's not always about just changing suppliers either, because you've spent a lot of time using those suppliers, that meat supplier, and you've basically trained them to learn what you want. So every now and again, we're dealing with a natural product. So it's very hard to put your hand on your heart and say that steak is going to eat fantastic. Like a lot of butchers out there will say, "Yes, I can." But I guarantee you there's been times where they've been wrong, and I've been wrong too. I've looked at something and that's going to eat beautiful, and then I walk away going, "Geez, that was really disappointed." But it's not about giving up on the supplier. It's about talking to them and making sure that they're aware that what you got wasn't exactly what you wanted. And that's why the customer comes back to let you know. It's exactly the same scenario. So they come back to tell you, "Look, that steak was a bit tough last week. I could have gone down the road, down to Johnny's shop down the road and bought my meat now, but I've come back to let you know." It's not about most of the time, it's not that they're looking for something for free. They're just looking to give you their feedback, and you're going to do everything in your power to make sure you get the right steak for them.
I just learned something from you, actually. Yes, that's a really good way to look at it. It's a natural product, so you cannot guarantee it, but you can speak with your supplier, like you said. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no. Well, look, something that's been on grain, it's going to eat, like for a period of time, it's going to eat pretty good. But, the grass-fed, like we have, I think roughly about 70% of the cattle in Australia is grass-fed, and what a lot of butchers do sell. So therefore, it's a little bit chewier than what grain can be sometimes, but it has that flavour. That's the beauty part. That's the beautiful part about it.
Yes, so is that very just packed with flavour.
A little bit about you, mate. What's your favourite cut of meat and the best way you like to prepare it?
It's a really good question. It's hard to pick one because as a butcher, it's an open buffet being at the shop. But if I had to pick one, honestly, something you just can't go wrong with would be Scotch fillet. And I know it's very basic to say, but it's very, very versatile. You can do a lot with it, and it's hard to stuff it up. I like to cut my Scotch fillets really thick, just get a good sear, and that's about it. If I've got the extra time, I'd go chuck it on the Weber or I'd reverse sear it. But usually coming home from work, you're too tired, you just want to eat, put some chips in, have some, mash and veggie ready to go, get a good sear going, and I have it pretty rare. So it doesn't take long to cook at all.
Nice.
Yeah, that's usually my go-to dinner.
Yeah, just a nice steak.
That's it. Stock standard. Very simple, man.
Same as me. What do you do in your spare time apart from social media?
I train train a lot. So I'm currently doing MMA. I've been, inconsistent for the last couple of years, but this last year I've been pretty consistent. That keeps my mind, flowing. So with all this work I've got going on, my butcher shop, I've had to work at, for the social media, the knife business, you get overwhelmed. Like you feel like all you do is work. So the training is a way for me to let it out. It's to just feel fresh again. I try to go at least 4 or 5 times a week after work, which is a good way for me to reset, since after training is when I get all my online work done.
Yeah, right. Is there anything you want to do in the future with MMA or?
Probably not. I do want to pursue, my businesses and everything, but I love training for the sake of, self-defense is one thing and protecting your family around you, but also just health. It keeps you insanely fit and you're always prepared. You're agile, you're able to run. You feel good. You always feel good. So the long days at the butcher shop, 11, 12 hours a day don't really get to you anymore.
No, gives you a good energy boost.
Yes, it does.
What's your favourite thing about being a butcher?
Honestly, knowing everything about where food comes from and what anything has to do with food, a butcher would know, which is good for, your personal safety. For example, you're going out to eat somewhere, you know what something's going to be like. You know what to expect everywhere you are when it comes to food-related stuff, which is good because you work with it. It's all you know.
What's been the most challenging thing about being a butcher?
The most challenging thing I would say at the start was, getting used to the long days. Usually we're doing 10, 11 hours and working 6 days a week, just depending on the weeks, sometimes less and more. Getting used to those early mornings at the start was a bit tough, but now it's actually adjusted me. I'm a big morning person. So every day I'm up around 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I love it, full of energy. As long as I get my coffee in, I'm fine. You got to have the coffee first. Without that, I'm walking around grumpy all morning. No one wants to speak to me. Yeah, no, it's turned me into a big morning person.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm believe it or not, mate, I'm still the same.
Yeah, there you go.
I still wake up about 5:30, and it's been a long time since I've been up that early to go to work in a butcher shop. But it's something that I've found it very hard to get out of that.
Yeah. Yes.
Get that out of my system, but it's just the way it is. At least I'm in the office nice and early and I can...
It's good. It's a good habit.
Yeah, and it's nice that time in the morning, isn't it? Like, which is
beautiful.
It's a good way to greet the day, getting up nice and early.
Not too much noise, no headaches. It's peaceful. Even for example, my day offs, I'm up at that time anyways as well, if I've got nothing to do.
Mate, finally, what message do you want to share with the young people considering a career in butchery?
Would I be able to adjust to say to young people considering butchery and even young people considering any career?
Yeah.
Just give it a shot. The worst thing that can happen, we're still young. When you're 21, 22, you can still change. You can find something else. It's never too late. Even if you're, coming up to your late 20s, it's never too late. So just try something and give it your 100%. Don't half-ass and, just show up to work. No, go the extra mile, show up to work and perfect the skill every day. With me, I started working on customer service. So I try to every day, how can I get better at speaking to people? How can I get better at recommending? And then after that was working on my knife skills. So with whatever trade you're in, every day just give you 100%. That's what gets you somewhere.
Well said, mate. Well said. Well, Jamel, thanks a lot for your time today, mate. I know you've probably got to head off to work shortly, but
I'm off to work now, yes.
Well,
my
mate,
boss is waiting on me.
I bet he is. Mate, really appreciate your time, and I'll look forward to catching up with you in the shop over the next few weeks, mate.
100%. I appreciate your invitation on here. It was a pleasure to come on.
I'm sure our paths will cross shortly.
We should.
Thanks, buddy.
Always. See you later.
This podcast is provided for information purposes only. The MLA Group strongly recommends that listeners exercise discretion and obtain professional advice before relying on any information in this podcast.